Spa Guy, what are you doing here?
Oh, well, I am. This is not Ripley's, but believe it or not, I'm hanging out in the back of an ambulance.
Whose ambulance or what ambulance is this?
This ambulance was used to try to save the life of the King of Rock and Roll, August the 16th, 1977. This is the vehicle that they transported Elvis in from Graceland to Baptist Hospital on that day.
Now, you own this, and you used to have this in the Tigerman Dojo. That unfortunately closed, didn't it?
Well,
Wait a minute, what's that I see? Tigerman Karate Dojo and Museum by the Spa Guy?
Shantae Wood that helps me with this. This is one of the an Elvis super fan, if you will, and we'll talk about that in the building. I actually did these on both sides, and what's interesting about these planters is the stories are that Elvis, when he would come here, if he was drinking Pepsi, he would have the guys and himself leave the bottles in these planters so the local kids could come pick the bottles up. Now, those of you that are not as old as me may not know about it, but when I was a kid, I would get my bicycle and ride to the store, and I could pick up enough bottles between my house and the store to buy a candy bar and a drink.
Recyclables, yeah.
Yeah, you get 10 cents for a bottle. So back then, he would leave them here so the local kids that lived in the neighborhood could come pick the bottles up.
That's a cool story.
So we have bottles that were provided by Mika Matthews that also helps me, which is another super fan, that we're going to put in it. So I haven't put them in.
That's awesome.
Just finish this, so we'll put a few bottles around.
That's why you're the guy to have a museum, man.
Yeah.
You think like us.
Details.
So Billy, tell me what has gone on since the Tigerman Dojo closed and what you've been up to, what you're doing now.
All right. Well, when it closed, of course, I put this vehicle in secret storage. I put it in a place where nobody knew where it was. And it is luckily back at the Tigerman Karate Dojo and Museum by Spa Guy.
Oh!
And, yeah, little addition there.
You are opening up again.
I am absolutely opening again, and we're so excited. I've been working on this for many, many months, and I hope to be open by June of 2025. I'm not sure that I could be open in June of 2025. I will definitely be open by August, but hopefully June is the plan. And this is back in, and we have all kinds of other stuff. And this is not just an Elvis museum. This is our Congaree museum. We have all kinds of stuff. I have personal items from my life. I have items from all kinds of people's, especially celebrities' lives. And the other thing that makes it a little bit different, and I don't know if I've even told you this, Jordan, is a lot of stuff's for sale. So you can literally buy things out of the cases.
And then you can get new stuff.
That's exactly right.
That's great.
That's right.
So this is awesome because a lot of people saw my videos, your videos from the dojo, loved it, and just didn't get out here before it closed. Now they have a second chance.
That's exactly right. And it will be very similar to the way it was.
New and improved from what I've seen.
New and improved, if you will. But the thing is, well, I won't even go there. So
yeah, why don't you give us a little sneak peek of what people will get to see when they come
all right,
here?
Stay tuned.
Now we're starting out here in your kind of jungle room setup. Tell me about this.
All right, so this is my idea was when I was designing the museum, I had to have a way for people to get in the museum and to get back out of the museum, kind of a entry and an exit.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create a hallway here, and I thought, well, what if I make it into something other than just a hallway?
Yeah.
And so I started thinking about doing maybe the TV room and different stuff. So I settled on the jungle room, and you can see that it's got the look of the jungle room. The curtains. I did this. These are actual photos of horses, and the grate that you see here, the way I got that. Now, I didn't do photos from behind Graceland because that's their property, you know. So we just superimposed this, but what I did was went to Graceland and took photos through the windows to see exactly how the grates looked. And I had an artist draw them in over so they were accurate as far as the way the bars looked and that kind of stuff. Bought the actual Whitco furniture just like is in the jungle room. And the purpose of this is you can see the Jungle Room furniture at Graceland, but you can't sit on it.
Yeah, you can't touch it.
And I want you to experience this. You'll be surprised. When I saw this in the photos, I always thought that it would be really, really kind of hard.
Yeah.
It's actually very, very comfortable.
Nice.
So the purpose of this, for you to come sit on it and actually experience it, not just look at it.
And you've went the full 9 with the details of everything that he had right there on the table and everything.
Those 2 phones are sitting on the table in the Jungle Room at Graceland. The phone to the right is actually the intercom system, the one that's red. The one to the left, of course, would be the regular phone system. The way I figured the red one out is I had to go to Graceland and take photos of the phone that's in the kitchen to figure out the name brand. And once I was able to do that, I was able to figure out what phone it was and buy several of them. I haven't fixed it yet. I haven't worked on it yet. But I will in the future, or plan on in the future, making it where you can come in and pick the phone up and talk to Elvis or hear Elvis.
And he was number 1 on there, right?
He was number 1 on the intercom system. That's right. So this building is actually where Congree practiced karate with Elvis. Now there was 3 different dojos that Elvis worked in in Memphis. 2 of them were Congree related. He got this building because he wanted something closer to Elvis, so Elvis could come here. And the beauty of the building is there's no windows. So there's 2 front doors. Once you're inside the building, Elvis wouldn't be bothered by fans and that kind of stuff. And a lot of these photos happened here. That photo where Elvis gave Congree that Cadillac happened out front of this building. All of these photos that you see on the red carpet happened in this building. The thing that's interesting about Congree is he was a marketer when it comes to karate. A lot of karate is like one patch. Yeah. He went nuts with patches. All these different things. He's actually the creator. He has the copyright on the TCB patch. That's owned by Congree, not by Graceland.
Wow.
He copywrote that before Graceland ever trademarked TCB. Years before, almost 20 years before. That crown fist patch that you see on a lot of Elvis's gis, that's a creation of Congree. And here's hand drawings from Congree of what he wanted the certificates to look like. You see where he hand drew the TCB in?
Yeah.
And the patches. It's just amazing. And you'll see the Ways of Honor, the Passeru, or he actually changed it from Ways of Honor later to Way of Honor, because there's only one way. And Congree was a Christian man, and so that's why he changed it from Ways to Way of Honor. So we have things like Congree created these medals for St. Jude's where he would do karate tournaments. And we actually have these for sale here at the dojo. Now those are examples that are in the case. This is Congree's Bible to the right, by the way. And then right here, all of the photos that were taken in this building, if you've ever seen the photos of Elvis doing karate on the red carpet, those are owned by Congree. He had them taken, and those are the negatives in that box. That is Congree's box right there. And then this is Congree's family. Yang, his son, is the one that so graciously helped me procure these items, if you will, so that we could tell the story of his father. This is Congree.
Yeah.
And the most famous karate photo ever taken of Elvis, which is this photo right here, was taken in this building, and you can see it was turned into a karate decanter, and a liquor decanter, and all kinds of stuff. It was featured on the front of Fighter magazine. That's Elvis.
You wouldn't happen to know where that photo was taken, would you,
I know
Billy?
exactly where. Would you like to see it?
I'm kind of looking at it. Let's see it.
Let's walk over and take a look. It's right over here. So where this standee is exactly where he was standing when that photo was taken.
Wow. How did you find that out?
Well, you could see the photos. In the photo, you could see these 2 air conditioner vents right here.
Okay.
You can also see the telephone jack, the gray one.
Yeah.
So I recreated this. This was not original. This was not here. And I actually...
There was another business in between the time you got it.
Yes, this was a machine shop. When I got this back, when we got it in 2021, I guess it was, or 2020, this was a machine shop. There was nothing back here. So I had to recreate this, but this is the spot that it happened. So we built the stage. I found the paneling and stained it. And in the photo, you even see that one of the panels is darker than the others.
Yeah.
So I made it darker.
That's great.
And we put the flags back up and all that kind of stuff, and kind of turned it back into the way it looked. And Connery, of course, is standing right here in the photo. But that's where you come and stand when you come here.
Yeah.
The photo made with E.
That is pretty cool. And then you have some of the gis over
this
here.
is an original karate gi from Connery right here. Now the Elvis karate gi is a remake, if you will, but you can see the patch. But this is a real gi. I don't have the belt on here right now because I just got these in and I've got to put the belts on. But this is that actual gi that you see him wearing right there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And you see all the things that he created. The World Black Belt Bureau, all these things are creations of Connery, and that is a master he is the father of Pasaru type karate. He came from Korea, from South Korea, to the United States in 1964, started the dojo that I showed you last night, 1911, popular in 1966. We actually have the business license, the very first one from 66. Wow. And created a whole thing. And there's Pasaru dojos all over the world.
That's great.
From Connery.
And then we can kind of see on here the patch that Elvis would have had on there.
Yeah, he would have had that and also this, the Crown Fist. So the correct belt for this is actually not even close to the correct belt. The correct one is in the case that we just looked at up under, and I've got to take it out of the case and tie it on here. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned some stuff was going to be for sale and that you had stuff that wasn't just Elvis. What else do you have?
Well, we have all kinds of things. We have a lot of Jerry Lee stuff. This looks like a coat for a female, but I actually have photos of Jerry wearing this. A lot of photos, not a few. So this is a Jerry Lee piece. You can buy this. That's an Eddie Rabbit shirt and an autographed hat. You can buy that. We have... that is a coat from the Elvis in Concert coat from Charlie Hodge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And,
is that for sale? Or
yes, that's for sale.
Wow.
Yeah. This caftan, or kaftan, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, was actually gifted to Sheila. Her original, she married James Caan. Her original name was Sheila Ryan. So Elvis gifted that to Sheila Ryan. She eventually married James Caan. So that's Sheila Caan's kaftan from Elvis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's this?
This is the famous badge picture, if you will. And if you look in this photo, you see a shirt with red stripes. It is that shirt right there that is owned by Trey, Globetrotting with Trey.
Yeah, do you can you tell me whose shirt that is and how he found that?
That is Dr. Nick's shirt, and Trey was over in a part of Memphis and happened to go by a kind of a retro store called Flashbacks, and he turned around and something told him to turn around and go in there. So he walks in and starts looking through the shirts, and the guy asked him, "Hey, are you a fan of Elvis?" And he said, "Absolutely I am." He said, "Well, we just cleaned out the closets for Dr. Nick, and we have all of his stuff from the closets in here.
Wow.
And would you like to look through the stuff?" So he went back and started looking, and he recognized that shirt and grabbed it first.
Wow.
And, but he bought a bunch of different Dr. Nick shirts, and there's another one that Dr. Nick that looks more like an Elvis shirt with big collars.
Yeah.
Because Elvis would gift people things.
Oh, yeah, constantly.
So we have a lot of that. Now, the other reason that I had this badge picture, and that's not a very good blow-up of it, but there's not very many high-definition versions of it. This guy right here, his name was Roy Nixon. He's actually the guy that gave Elvis and these guys the badges for this photo, which happened to be Sonny West's wedding that day. He was marrying Judy that day.
Okay.
And so this guy, Elvis, of course, gave him a TCB and gave him a bracelet. And there's the TCB, and there's the bracelet. And there's the TCB that he gave to Sheriff Roy Nixon. And here's the bracelet that he gave to Roy. And I put a little mirror on there so you can see the EP on the back of it, and on the front of it says Roy.
Oh, wow.
Now, something that's interesting about the bracelet is, look at this standee. Here's Elvis wearing his. Now, on the front of it, his said Elvis. On the back, he had Crazy. Now, Vernon's on the front said Vernon. What do you think it said on the back?
I don't know, Dad.
Slot machine. That was his nickname.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so all of these, they put nicknames on.
Oh, great.
So Elvis wasn't really tight friends with Roy. You know, they weren't best friends, so he didn't put a nickname on the back.
Yeah.
He put EP on the back. And Bill Morris, that was the sheriff before Roy, that became the mayor, on the back of his says Elvis Presley written out completely. So he made each one of them different. This one is E.P. And Bill's is Elvis Presley all the way out. But it says Bill on the front. He still has his TCB in his necklace. And Roy actually worked for Bill Morris. And Bill also is the guy that when James Earl Ray fled after the Martin Luther King assassination, fled to England, Bill is the guy that went and got him and brought him back to the States.
Oh, wow.
He was the sheriff at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Morris, by the way, would be considered Memphis Mafia. That is him in that photo right there. So that's Bill and that's Roy Nixon. And Bill is still with us, by the way.
Look at that.
Yeah. Now that is, would you like for me to tell you about this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is a thing that we're going to do in the museum. This is called Creepy Elvis. Or Creepy,
Sure is.
we're going to call him Creepy E. So every day when you come to the museum, Creepy E will be in a different place. We're just going to move
Like
him
an elf
around.
on a shelf, yeah.
That's right, like an elf on a This is going to be Creepy E on the shelf. So he will just move around the museum. And so when you come, you want to try to find out where Creepy E is. And I'm hoping that'll become a fun thing. These belt buckles are from the collection of Superfan Shantae Wood. And I thought it was interesting that, like Larry Gatlin wrote, Help Me and Bitter They Are, the Harder They Fall. Hoyt Axton, the son of Mae Axton, the Heartbreak Hotel, wrote Joy to the World, Never Been to Spain, that Elvis recorded. And then you got Jerry Reed that wrote Guitar Man and U.S. Mail and A Thing Called Love and Talk About Good Times. And
Smokey and the
Snowman
Bandit.
from Smokey and the Bandit played guitar on U.S. Mail and Too Much Monkey Business, Stay Away Joe and Going Home. Then you got Eddie Rabbit that wrote Kentucky Rain, Patch It Up, and Inherit the Wind. And we actually have Eddie Rabbit items here for sale, like shirts and outfits and different stuff. Then you've got the Statler brothers that wrote Susan When She Tried. And below that is actually Shantae with Vernon on August the 10th. 6 days later, Elvis died. She was at Vernon's house. She went and knocked on the door. She was 16 years old. So when I say super fan, she was there at those times. She actually took the very last photo of Elvis and Ginger and Lisa Marie on the morning of the 12th, which is the next photo.
And she will be here at the museum?
Yes, she will be here from time to time. She's helping me with a lot of this. That camera that you see in the case is the camera she took that photo with right there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and that is a letter from Ginger thanking her, a handwritten letter from Ginger thanking her for taking the photo. And she actually sued Sony, BMG, Walmart, all of them, and won because they used her photo on the back of that CD set right there. And she sued David Stanley for using it, the next thing that you see, for using it in his book, and won on all counts. This seat right here, Elvis had three-wheelers created by some guys at a company called Supercycle, Lou and Ron Elliott. And Ron had passed away, but I went over and saw Lou, and I knew that they did the restoration on this motorcycle right here that Jerry Lee had in 1956. This is the restored version of it. It's kind of dark, but you see the seat is white. This sold for over $300,000. And I knew that they did the restoration, that they had taken the seat off. So I asked Lou, I said, you got that seat here for the Jerry Lee motorcycle? He said, yes, upstairs somewhere. So I went up there, and it was laying in a room with Jerry Lee Lewis 58 on it. You see that?
Yeah.
And it had that on it. So I grabbed it, took it back downstairs and said, Lou, can I buy this? He said, absolutely. So I paid him for it right that moment and got him to do a little video telling about it. I never did get him to write anything because he was really elderly, but I have him
good
telling
enough.
the story of it. And so that came off of Jerry Lee's bike. That's fact. And that's Ron and Lou right there, Supercycle. You can see the photo of them. You mentioned that you're a big Waylon fan.
Yeah.
So that is my Waylon belt buckle. But that right there, and that was Jesse Coulter's belt buckle. I bought that at the Waylon yard sale in December of 2000 for $50.
Wow.
And beside it, you see the Waylon guitar.
Yeah.
That is a photo I took of Waylon's guitar at the yard sale for sale. And I turned it into kind of art. I did that back in 2000.
How much were they asking for it at the time?
9,000.
Wow, it sold for a ton more.
Yeah. And then that's Buddy Holly's motorcycle that was gifted to Waylon that was sitting in his living room. You see the chair beside us.
Yeah.
Jesse Coulter.
Now it's in the Buddy Holly Museum.
Yeah. But that motorcycle was sitting in Waylon's living room for sale for $750,000 at the yard sale.
Wow. And then you got some of Jerry Lee's
There's
glasses.
Jerry Lee's glasses. And I have other Jerry Lee glasses here for sale and all kinds of other items. Jerry Lee's pipes and things like that. Yeah. So this is stuff from my personal collection. And when I say personal, I'm a collector of things, not just Elvis, just all kinds of things. And this is the very first thing that I ever found as a treasure hunter. This is the very first thing I ever found. In 1974, 1975, I would have been 8, 9, 10 years old, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm going to say younger. I was treasure hunting the old farmhouse we lived in, and there was no insulation in the attic in between the rafters. And I saw something red. I took a flashlight and looked between the rafters and saw something red and fished it out, and it was this German armband. Wow. So what would happen is in World War II, when they would kill a German, they would take their armband and bring it home as a trophy.
Yeah.
And I think whoever lived in the house became ashamed of it, didn't want anybody to know, so they threw it under those rafters. I dug that out in the early 70s. And then we have a huge yo-yo collection, and that is Goober autographed that for me when I did a show with him in I'm going to say it was 1999 that we did that show in Wilson, North Carolina with a guy that I was working with named Don Cox out of North Carolina.
I love that he didn't sign it George Lindsay and he signed it Goober.
He just put Goober on there, and that's a photo of him signing it right there behind. Okay, so this is my shrapnel cabinet, and what I'm talking about is through a course of years, things get torn down. So when something gets torn down, we go to it. That is actually from the mausoleum. You can see where it was open in the photo to the right, where Elvis's casket was. These pieces of concrete came from inside that. A guy that was doing the restoration on the mausoleum saw my video, and when I pulled up doing a tour, he said, "Hey, I've been waiting for you. I've got something for you." And brought me in and let me go in and film, and then gave me those items. And then that famous photo of Elvis at Madison Cadillac, we drove by that last night.
Yeah, that was cool.
That brick came from that wall right there. I pulled that fuse out of the fuse box when I went in there. I filmed the building before they tore it down, inside and out, basement, everything. The pink Cadillac, Gladys's, was painted, or actually I'm telling you wrong, the first pink Cadillac that burned was painted in the basement of that building.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What do we have over here?
That is a piece of the flooring from Elvis's apartment at Lauderdale that they pulled up when they were doing the restoration of the apartment. That's a brick from James Dean's High School. That is a piece of marble from the front. We talked about it yesterday, the Chiska. That was the front of WHBQ, was that green marble.
Where Dewey Phillips was broadcasting.
That's right. And then this is from the Colonel's house where the fan club was. That famous photo of Elvis and the Colonel, those pieces of VCT tile came from under Elvis's feet in that photo right there. So
I stood in on that very floor yesterday, actually, out at the Hideaway Farm.
Hideaway, yeah, Brian Oxley. So right here's a photo of it when it was torn down, and you see where I removed the tile.
Yeah.
Yeah, before they painted it. So Shantae Wood was really good friends with Charlie Hodge, which was arguably Elvis's best friend. Charlie Hodge always had a place to live at Elvis's house, no matter where they were. He always had a bedroom. And she was good friends with Charlie, and Charlie gifted her this shirt. And there's a photo of Elvis wearing this shirt, throwing a football, wearing a cowboy hat, which would have been from Sedona, Arizona. Stairway Joe is where we believe that photo was happened at. And these are all stuff from her Charlie days. That's Shantae with Charlie as a young woman, as a 16-year-old, and that's Shantae with Charlie later years. My son Trey was a yo-yo champion, so we actually started manufacturing yo-yos under the name Treyo. That is an Elvis Presley yo-yo that we made right there.
That's awesome.
And that's me as a kid with my Elvis jumpsuit. So I was in business with Scotty Moore, Elvis's first guitar player. Scotty Moore even had an album in the 60s called The Guitar That Changed the World, because he is well known in the well respected, if you will, considered one of the upper echelon of guitar players, and I was lucky enough to be friends with Scotty. And I also sold Scotty items. I sold autographed pictures and books and that kind of thing, and autographed personal items. One day I went to Scotty's house and I said, Scotty, is there anything new that I can sell? And he was in the yard. I was helping him. We were picking rocks up and throwing them in the front bucket. He had a Ford front end loader, and we were throwing them in the front bucket. He said, I wish you could sell these rocks and get them out of my yard. And I said, I got an idea. So I took a rock and took it in, washed it in the sink, set it on the table, and that is the first rock right there that he signed. And I got him to autograph rocks, and I shipped them all over the world.
It's a crazy little thing, but like we call it the shrapnel.
Yeah, you see it right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's him, photos of him signing it. But actually, I don't know how many I sold. I'm going to say 30 or 40 of them. There's not many out there, but they're out there. So this costume right here is, and I say costume, it's a suit jacket with the shirt. There's a belt, there's his shoes. That is a full ensemble from Kenny Rogers, and you can actually come in here and buy that.
Wow.
So all of these things that are like that are actually for sale.
Who's the blue?
That is from Piper Laurie.
Wow.
And I think that is B.J. Thomas, the blue outfit.
Okay.
This one right here is Eddie Rabbit. It's an Eddie Rabbit shirt.
Quite a collection of stuff that people can buy.
Yes, yeah.
Then you
and all this stuff, by the way. These are smalls. There's Elvis Spearhead stuff. There's B.J. Thomas stuff. There's Kenny Rogers stuff. That intercom phone head came from Johnny Cash's house. That was his personal receiver on his intercom in his bedroom. Conway Twitty autographed hat. And all this stuff is for sale. These are things that you can come here and purchase. So this book right here is the oldest Elvis signature that is not at Graceland. And Trey and I actually discovered this by running into a guy while we were filming in a graveyard in Tupelo, Mississippi. The guy walked up and asked us what we were doing. And we were filming a story about Jesse Guerin's grave, trying to figure that out. And Orville Bean, which Vernon worked for at the time when Jesse and Elvis were born. And the guy mentioned that he had a book that Elvis had signed his name in, a library book that he was gifted from Miss Camp. And I said, well, what did you ever do with it? He said, well, I've got it. Would you like to see it? Well, yeah, I want to see it. So we went straight to his house. He walks in the back and takes a book that somebody gave him in 1956. He knows where it's at. Wow. Brings it out, opens it. We look at it. I start calling friends of mine that were big collectors, and a friend, Ted Young, Tennessee Ted, went and bought it. In fact, there's a video where Ted and I went and purchased it, and then we went to Graceland and told the story about Ted jumping the fence at Graceland 1973.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so this is from the collection of Tennessee Ted, and a lot of this stuff is from Tennessee Ted's collection.
That is really cool to see. Wow, right there at the very, very bottom.
Yeah, and he actually wrote in it in another place. If you go up and you see Marianne Smith, just above it, it says Jean. You see above the Marianne?
Yeah, I do see that.
To the right of it, it says, above the 914, it says, I like her sister. And look at the I in sister.
Yeah.
That is the same I that Elvis did here, where he pushed the dot up.
Yeah.
So I went and found Marianne Smith in Tupelo in a retirement home and asked her who Jean was. Jean was her older sister. Sadly, she had passed away. But at the time that Elvis signed this book or wrote his name in this book, he would have been around 6th grade, 7th grade.
Yeah.
And he was crushing on a senior. Gene was a senior at the time.
And of course, one of the highlights, Billy found the actual ambulance that we started the video with that Elvis was taken to the hospital. And wow, found it in someone's backyard and was able to convince her it belonged in a museum, and you made good on your promise.
Yeah. So where Elvis is standing in this photo is actually a giant blow-up of a photo of someone standing ahead of where I'm at, taking a photo of Elvis standing where this blue star is right here. And the idea of this picture is you see these, remember you saw them back there.
Yeah.
And you saw that. The idea of this is before this wall was built and I cordoned it off to be the museum back there, I want you to kind of get an idea of what it looked like.
Yeah, so the wall went continuous.
This post right here is the actual post that's in the photo. And then that's the next post down.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's the real post, the real I-beam, if you will. And I tried to do it and make it a visual effect where you could kind of get an idea of the depth of it, if you will.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Billy, thank you for showing me around. I think this was a pretty good taste of what people can expect. You said it's going to be self-guided tours, but also an option at some point for guided tours with a lot more info.
We'll have options of guided tours with me, with Globetrotting with Trey, with other staff members, maybe Shantae Wood, that kind of stuff. So we're going to do all kinds of cool stuff. We're constantly getting new items and switching items and buying items and selling items. So there's always something new to see at the Tigerman Karate Dojo and Museum by Spa Guy.
I love that, man. I've been on this journey with you since I kind of met you when you opened up and just kind of saw everything happen. And I can't say anymore that somebody is doing something for the right reason more than you, because you're not doing it for the money. You're doing it for the fans to have the experience. I know you've had a major headache throughout these years dealing with it, but thank you, man.
It's been something. Well, thank you. And I appreciate the support. You stood behind me the whole time, and I do appreciate that.
Come visit the Spa Guy at the Tigerman Dojo in Memphis, Tennessee.